Okay, so start by thinking about standing with your feet hip width apart. Feet hip width apart, so feet together, toes out, heels out, and then feel the weight in your feet. So I want you to rock just slightly backwards and forwards. And become aware of where your knees are. So I'm going to ask you to look down, check your feet are pointing forward. The outsides of your feet should be lined up parallel with the edge of your mat. And have a look at where your knees are. Are they turned in? Have your ankles dropped in? Have your feet dropped out? Are your knees pointing forward? So just try and straighten them up so they're directly above and your hips are above. So you're not standing forward on your hips and you're not sticking your bum out. So coming upright. Then I want you to think about what's going on with your pelvis. So if you take your hand onto your rib cage, other arm behind. So Paula, I'm hoping you can put your hand that has a problem on the front, the other one on the back, and just move that rib cage backwards and forwards. Be aware, lift it up, drop it down, and then take it back to a neutral where it's level. So you're not thrusting it forward, it's in alignment. We're going to take the shoulders forward, up, and gently drop them down. Watch those fingertips are in alignment with the side of the seams of your trousers. If you bring your arms forward, you're going to tend to be in that position. So we're going to take it to there. Engage your core. So with your core, it's not just the tummy muscles. The whole load of muscles around this area. Think of pulling in a tight pair of jeans. So it's coming all the way from the side. This is called the transverse abdominis. Comes around the body, zipping up. Now, what's going on with your buttocks? I want you to loosen those buttocks. Let them relax. What I'm going to get you to do is bend the knees, tilt the bottom slightly back, and then stand up into position. Bend the knees, tilt the bottom slightly under, and come up into standing. Feet pointing forward again. Shoulders up, back, and release. Now let's think of our head position. I want you to jut your chin forward and pull it back. Jut it forward. Don't force it back. Think of being chin on a shelf. So you're sliding back rather than lifting the chin up. And I'm going to start today with exercises on the top end of the body. So we're going to start by taking the head side to side gently, looking over the right shoulder, center, left. And I'm not mirror image, so I will change so that I'm the same as you today. So over your right shoulder and left shoulder. Keeping that chin in alignment for now. Now I'm going to change that after the next movement. Trying to keep the face pointing forward, we're going to take the ear towards the shoulder. Ear to shoulder rather than shoulder to ear. Keep the rest of the body relaxed. Have you kept your core engaged? Pulling up the pelvic floor. Come back center, other side. Have you tightened your bottom muscles? I want you to loosen those buttock muscles. So ear towards the shoulder, keep that shoulder relaxed. Keep those buttocks relaxed, engage the core, and keep breathing. Now I'm going to change it slightly. I want you this time to turn down as if you're trying to take your nose down to sniff your armpit. Nice and early in the day, so with a bit of luck, it smells okay. Take it down, other side. Come back up, other side. And the next one I want to think about is we're going to take the head up and down, but I want you to be aware the muscles on the spine are very spiky on the back, and particularly anyone with osteoporosis, and as we're all getting older, we're heading towards osteopenia. Those spines on the back of your spine, the bits that stick out, are very delicate. So what you want to do is not take your head back. So you really want to avoid that. We want to keep that head stacked. So you're going to lift your eyes to the sky. So it's just a tiny movement, and then tuck your chin down without allowing your chin to tuck the chest. Try and keep a grapefruit underneath. So coming forward, lengthen the back of the neck. Coming back up into good posture and just raising the eyes slightly to the sky. So think of keeping that neck really lengthened, coming forward, stretching through the neck. Coming back. Is your core engaged? Is your pelvic floor engaged? Are your buttocks relaxed? Okay, I'm going to do work to the shoulders. So here, Paula, just keep it fairly gentle. All I want you to do is think of lifting your ribs. So you're going to lift your ribs. The arm's sliding down, but think of lifting the ribs. So you're not letting them come forward. You've got that nice neutral position here. You're lifting the ribs upwards, coming back center, taking it to the other side. Lifting the ribs. So it's the ribs rather than sliding down. Think of lifting up. So we're lifting up from the right side now. Those that can, think of lifting your arm up as well, just taking it a bit further, lifting that elbow and taking it down. Lifting that elbow. Lift and take it down. If that's uncomfortable on your arms, then just stick with the arm low. Now again, this is going to be optional. Those that can, take the arm straight up and think of reaching up. So you're reaching up rather than over, reaching up and stretch those ribs. Watch this hip, keep it still. We're not sticking the hip out. We're not, or even that way, we're not sticking the hip out, we're reaching up. I want to feel a lengthen between the rib cage and the spine coming back down. Let's take the other arm up. Again, if that's uncomfortable, just stay here and do the lift, but up, reaching up, think of lifting that rib cage and maybe a slight bend over, but it's all about the stretch here. Watch that the arm is by the ear, you're not reaching forward. We're trying to keep that rib cage in this plane as if you're between two panes of glass. Let's go once more each side, taking the arm up if you can, or under the armpit if that's better, or keeping it at the lower version, depending on how your arms feel. Okay, just let those arms swing. Loosen them out. And then twist. So from here, I'm looking to warm up the lower body. So I'm letting the knees go. I'm letting the feet go. I'm just letting everything go. Getting some mobility through the body. Come back center. And we're going to look at the pelvis next. And the lumbar spine, the lower back. So coming into your hip width apart, get your posture perfect first. Watch where you are. So bend the knees, stick the bottom out, and tuck it under. Take it back and tuck it under. Taking it back. So we're looking to get some mobility in the spine. I want you to come back to neutral and stand up. Now those that are happy to, we're going to take it to a figure 8 circle. If that's uncomfortable, keep it with a circle or just wait for us and join back in a moment. Okay, let's go back. So feet hip width apart, bend the knees. Let's do that pelvic tilt under and back. Placing your hands on those bony protrusions on the front of your hips and feel what's going on. Feel that bucket come forward, tipping sand out the back, sand out the front. Come back to neutral, so in the center, stand up. Now I want you to look down briefly at your feet. Are they pointing forward? Have a think about your knees. Are your feet dropping in? Are your legs dropping out? Are your knees pointing forward? Are you standing forward on your hips? Let's get that perfect posture again. Engage the core. Pull up the pelvic floor. Keep breathing and release the buttocks. Beautiful. Now we're going to go down to the floor with a little bit of movement here. And what I want to do here is just warm up through the feet. So all we're doing is walking through the feet. Now this is one, if you prefer, you can do seated if this is uncomfortable on your hips. So I'm warming up through the feet and ankles. Okay, so for Paula, for this one, I want you to keep it really small and potentially you're not going to be able to do this. So I apologise, this might be one you have to sit out on. I want you to do is we're not going to take them up, but those that can take them up later, but we're going to start low. We're going to bring the back of the hands together down at the front. Open out. Do it again, coming forward. Opening out. And then when you get to the back, I want you to little pulses back. 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming forward. Going back. Once more. Coming forward. opening back and pulse. Now again, you have the option to keep it low, but you can take it higher, opening up, bring it forward, taking the thumbs back and open. 2, 3, 4. One more, coming forward, coming back, coming forward, coming back and push. 2, 3, 4. Bring the hands down. Okay, thinking about again your core, engaging the core, pulling up the pelvic floor, relax the buttocks. Think of getting some space between the ribs and the lower body. What I'm going to ask you to do next is bend your knees, and we're going to do a Pilates roll down. So we're going to just relax the spine. So rather than a roll down as such, we're just relaxing the spine, coming forward. You can rest your hands on your knees if you prefer. And coming back up. Now, what I'm going to do next can be done seated. So I'm going to grab my chair as well. What I'm looking to do here is a little bit of balance work where we can, but it's also about the feet. So what we're going to be doing is taking the foot out in front, heel, toe, and then out to the side. So it can be, although it's not so good, it's not going to work for the balance as well, it can be done in a chair. So, Jude, if you prefer, work on your ankles on the floor. But for the rest of us, we're going to work on the balance as well. So I'll leave it up to all of you. You've got the option to do it in the chair if your balance is awful, but this is really going to help the balance as well. So, your perfect posture. Keeping those hands by the side of the body, engaging your core, pulling up the pelvic floor. And I want you to this time put the fingertips on those bony protrusions and think about your balance. But we're working on the foot mobility. So I want you to heel and toe. You're going to flex and point. But really be aware, those that are standing, that we're also working the standing leg. So although you're pointing and flexing your right foot, you're also really controlling what's happening with the other leg. Let's just bring that back in, change leg, point, flex and point even, exactly the same thing. Now be aware, it's very easy to sort of, I'm exaggerating here, but lean out. So keeping that body upright. You don't have to have your hands there if you want them out for balance, but if you're able to feel what's going on, is your pelvis still? Have you engaged your core? If you let your bottom relax, pull up your pelvic floor, keep breathing. Okay, coming back in. Same thing again, exactly the same can be done seated. It's going to work slightly different muscles, but still useful. We're just going to lift the leg up and down, change leg, lift and down. And as you're doing this, engage your core, pull up the pelvic floor, relax the buttocks, and just be aware. I know I'm wobbling a little bit from side to side, and you will be, but we want to minimize it. We're really trying to hold it on the core and lift and lower. And then I'm going to change that out to the side. So you're going to take the leg out to the side and down. So a little bit harder. You don't have to have your foot flexed. If you're happier with it pointed, fine. I don't seem to be able to do it with a pointed foot. Yes, I can. For me, my foot automatically wants to flex, but taking it out to the side. If you're seated, just think of a gentle sideways movement. If you can only do that on one leg, that's absolutely fine too. And then we're going to go back to the feet, but out to the side this time. And I want you to take the foot out and turn it in, turning it out and turning it in. So you're going to get some movement with the upper body, but try and keep the body still. So make it come from the hip. It's the hip, not the knee. So I'm just slightly lifting the foot, trying to twist and get rotation in that hip. And again, trying as best you can to keep the hip above the knee, above the ankle. Beautiful. Change side. You might want to walk through the heels. Take it to the other side and in. Think about it coming from the hip. So again, you can keep doing it there from here. Again, not quite so easy seated. You're going to possibly make a bigger movement and take it across, open out. In fact, if you're seated, I would just take the leg out to the side and back in on your good side. If your bad side's uncomfortable, then let that side rest. The rest of us, from the hip, from the hip, from the hip, from the hip. Try and keep that knee in alignment with itself as you go down. Beautiful. Don't know about you, but my hips are beginning to hurt, so a little bit of a rotation just to loosen it all through. Coming back into posture. So the next thing we're going to do is come down. Actually, no, we'll do some standing. No, we're not. We are going to come down. So everybody else, if you've got osteoporosis, you're going to bend your knees as you come down. Relax the back, roll down to the floor. And we're going to come down to do clam or oyster. Paula, I'm going to suggest that you have your chair ready. I'm going to put mine there so I can show you what you want to do. I will jump up. We're going to come down onto our side. Clam or oyster. So Paula, grab your fitness band. Towel underneath your ear. I obviously haven't got mine here. Feet in line with the back. And we're going to do that clam or oyster. You know the exercise. Upper body's relaxed. Hips are stacked. Take that arm in front. Make a tripod. Lift and lower. About 8 here. Lift the feet. 8, lift and lower. Okay. Paula, I haven't actually got my band. This I have. Band. You're going to wrap it round your knees, over the top, and I'm going to ask you to do one at a time. I'm going to have to do that side so that you can see because I'm off camera, but just taking the leg out and back in. Now you can either come onto the side of the foot. I'm actually using the band quite thick. I've got it pulled across. I'm using the band as extra weight. You can either come onto the side of the foot or you can take the foot out. I'll leave it up to you. It's going to work the same muscles as the clam or oyster, alternating sides. Rest of you, I'm going to have a quick peep. So if you're doing it seated, I would suggest you do 4 or 5. Lift and lower. So remember, once you've done the easy version, you can lift the feet and you can extend the leg out in front, bring it back. Once you've had enough, you're going to rub that buttock muscle, give it a rest. Check your position again. Your feet, your bottom and your shoulders should all be in line, parallel with the back of your mat. Neck should be relaxed. Okay. Paula, you're going to stand up. Everybody else rolling onto your front. You're going to come down with your head in your hands. Relax your buttocks. Pull the belly away from the floor. And you're going to lift and lower that bottom leg. So it's a lift and lower. A lift. I'm a bit close to the chair. Lift and lower. So I'm going to talk you through the teaching points. Standing, exactly the same. Think about your posture. You're going to pull that belly in and a little movement back. Squeeze and release. Squeeze and release. So those of you that are lying, I want you to think about your posture. Your head is relaxed. Let those shoulder blades drop down. Keep that neck really long. Pull the belly away from the floor. Relax the buttock muscles and just lifting, alternating feet. Right and then left. Shoulder and upper back. You should be feeling this in the lower spine, about this sort of area. So you're exactly the same. You're in this position, head down, neck relaxed, neck lengthened, pulling back, lifting up. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to put the chair to one side for now. And, oh no, we're going to do the other side. So Paula, you're going to go back to your band work again. Everybody else rolling onto your other side to do your clam on the opposite side. So remember again, you start off in a nice straight line. Get that head comfortable. Your neck should be relaxed. Bend the knees. Feet are still in line with the back of the mat. Shoulder and back as if you were lying against a wall. Watch those hips are stacked, the feet are stacked, the knees are stacked. Tripod in front. Lift and lower that knee. About 8 with the feet on the floor. Up to 8 with the feet floating. And once you've done those 8, if you've got some work left in you, you can lift and extend the foot. I usually find 4 is about a maximum. And then Paula, if you want to come on down to the floor, you do your Pilates roll down or bend the knees and roll down. We're going to come onto our backs and we're going to do some work for our buttocks, and so forth. So slightly different move I'm going to start with first. Similar to one we've done before, but it's a new one I've come across this week, which I love. So feet hip width apart, rolling down. Now I want to make sure we're in the perfect posture on the floor. So we have that neutral spine, feet hip width apart. Put those feet together. Keep them together so that the heels are touching, the toes are touching. Then toes out, heels out. And relax. Be really aware of what's going on with your lower back. And I want you to push your lower back into the floor. And arch it up. Push it down towards the mat. Relax your buttocks. This is all coming from the pelvis. You're tilting your pelvis back and up. And then come to neutral. So you've got a little bit of gap underneath. Now, what I want you to do, we're going to bring the legs up and down one at a time. Bring one knee into the chest, hand underneath, and then the other. And then what I want you to do is take both legs away until you feel the bite. So you're going to feel that you've got your neutral spine, so a little bit of gap under your back, until you feel everything start to engage. And then you're going to take your right foot to the floor, left foot to the floor. Bring the left knee into the chest, hug in. Right knee into the chest. Make sure you've got that neutral spine, so you haven't let your spine drop into back drop into the floor. Take both legs away until you just feel everything engaging. Your knees should be above your hips. And then you're going to take your left foot down and your right foot down. Trying to keep that pelvis level, keeping everything in neutral. Right knee in, left knee in. Take it away until you feel the bite. Right foot down. Really controlling it on the core, pelvic floor is engaged, buttocks relaxed. Foot comes down. Left foot's just touch, bring the left knee in. Right knee in. Take both knees away, keeping that spine in neutral. Engage. Left foot down. Really controlling it on the core, right foot down. Right knee in. Do once more each side. Left knee in. Take it out. Really controlling it on the core. Nice and controlled. Slowly right leg down. You're hinging from the hip. The knee doesn't bend. This is coming from the hip. Coming down. As soon as that left foot touches, bring it all the way in. Other leg in. Watch that spine. You've still got the neutral spine. Coming up into tabletop. Letting those knees go away. And taking the legs down one at a time. Okay, from there, let's bring the right knee in and hug it underneath. And just bend and extend the leg. Getting some movement in the knee. And then I want to stretch the hamstring. So I want you to, same as we did when we went away, I want your neutral spine. I want you to feel that bite point. So if your leg is there, you're going to really feel it on the spine. Bring it back and bend it slightly. I want you to feel the stretch in the hamstring. Supporting the leg, either side of the leg. Try not to pull on the back of the leg, the hamstring that we're stretching in the back of the thigh. And the leg as straight as it will be, as it can be, but it's more important that the heel is above the hip and that you're not feeling any strain on your back. Keep breathing. Relax into that stretch. Let's bend and straighten again. Now, this time, as straight as it will be, it doesn't have to be totally straight. I want you to bend and point the ankle. So we're going back to the ankles now. Upper body should be nicely relaxed. Think of lengthening your neck. Now let's circle the foot one way and the other. So really getting some mobility in the ankle. Let's take that foot down. Other side, bringing the knee into the chest. Let's lengthen and bend. Lengthen and bend. Now, let's have a hamstring stretch, so stretching the back of the thigh. Again, weight of the ankle is over the body, so either over the hip or slightly closer. Bend the knee slightly if you need to. You want to be feeling the stretch in the back of the thigh, supporting the leg, hands either side. And just relax into that stretch. Now, bend the knee slightly if you need to. Let's flex and point the foot. So we're extending the stretch into the calf. At your own speed, whatever feels best for you, getting some mobility into the ankle joint. And then we're going to circle first one way. I like to do 3 or 4 one way and 3 or 4 back. Okay, bringing that leg back in. Feet are a little bit close to the body. Now let's go back to thinking about our posture again. Feet hip width apart, so just double check the heels and toes are in alignment. Feet together, toes out, heels out if you need to. Feet close to the body than last time. Neutral spine, so if you need to check, push the spine back into the mat. Lift it up and then turn it back, return it to neutral. So feel those bony protrusions, heels of the hand on those bones. Make your diamond shape and just have a quick look. Are you level or have you tipped your back down and so your fingers are pointing up? Or are you arching your back and so your thumbs are high, so you should be neutral? Now let's think about the upper back. I want you to lengthen across the shoulder blades. Let those arms relax by the side of your body. And think of lengthening across the chest and across the upper back. And also lengthening the neck. So if you've got anything underneath your head, it's not going to be more than about 1 inch, but ideally directly on your mat. A little bit of gap under your chin. Head is level. Now, I'm going to ask you to peel up 1 vertebrae at a time from the mat. Getting some movement in the spine. Trying to keep the pelvis as level as possible as you do this. Try not to let the knees wobble. But we're not concentrating on pelvic stability here. I'm concentrating on articulating the spine. Lifting as high as it's comfortable. Now I want you to try and keep the buttock muscles as soft as possible here. I'm not working particularly on squeezing the buttocks yet. We'll do that in a moment. Now we're going to take it to a 4 count. So breathing out, engage the core. And as you lift, come to the top. Breathe in. Now those that can are going to float their arms above the head, which will help lift the rib cage. And I've got that chair behind me. Next breath, bring the arms back. And rolling back down. Obviously, if that's uncomfortable, just hold at the top. So breathe in to prepare, zip and hollow, pulling in that core, pulling up the pelvic floor. And as you breathe out, start to roll up, peel up off the floor. Breathe in as you take the arms above the head if you're going to, or just hold. Breathing out, bring the arms back down to the floor, keeping the hips high. Breathing in, roll back down. And relax. One more. Breathing in, prepare. As you breathe out, peel up. Taking the hands slowly, one at a time. Both together even, above the head, if you can. Next breath, bringing them down and release. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is bring the knees in one at a time and just give your back a little bit of a massage if that feels good. You can circle them out, you can circle them in, just to give your spine a little bit of relaxation. Okay, one at a time, feet back down to the mat. A little bit more relaxed position away from the body. I want you to check your position again. So watch that your heels and toes are aligned so that one's not further forward than the other. Feet together, toes out, heels out. Hands now onto the bony protrusions on the top of your thighs, top of your hips even, so you can feel what's going on. And we're going to concentrate on pelvic stability here. Check your posture, lengthen neck. Neutral spine, so you've got that little bit of gap underneath. And what I want you to do is drop your right knee towards the mat as you breathe out. Bring it back in as you come up. Breathe out as you drop down. Breathe in as you come back up. So here we are concentrating on pelvic stability, so feel what's going on. If you find that as you move, your hip is rocking, that you're feeling this other hip move away, then push the stationary leg, the heel of the stationary leg into the mat. That will help engage. Make sure you're engaging your core, pulling up your pelvic floor, relaxing the buttocks. So though it's a fairly easy movement, we're really trying to control the core here. So let's do one more on the left side. So even it up both sides, and we're going to go to leg slides. With leg slides, so we're just sliding one leg away, heel away along the mat, just skimming the surface. Again, you're trying to keep that pelvis as level as possible. Watch that you're not letting your back slide into the mat. Coming back up. So if you're happy to, you can take an arm, opposite arm above the head. Again, if your shoulders don't want you to do this, or your concentration won't today, concentrate on the lower back. Now those that are lifting their opposite arm above the head, be really aware that you're not lifting the rib cage as you do this. So you might want to try placing the other hand on the ribs. Feel what's going on. Is your pelvis still? Have you got that nice length between your ribs and your pelvis? Beautiful. Opposite arms if you wish. Okay, let's come up to sitting for a moment. Now, I want to think really again about posture in the seated position. So, think about that pelvis again. Think of it as a bucket. And is it upright? So, are you allowing your lower back, I can't do it very easily, your lower back to roll back? Or are you doing what I often do, which is arching inward? Be aware of those sit bones. And I want you to rock in and back. So I've got my knees bent. I'm just tilting the pelvis back and forward. Feet are flat on the floor. Just getting a little bit of movement. At the moment I've got my hands on my knees. Feet are flat on the floor. Have a look at your feet. Are they hip width apart? Are they level? Have you got one closer to you than the other? And roll back. Now, let's take it to a half roll back. You can keep your hands on your thighs if you want. You can lift them up. We're going to come back. Keep those feet on the floor. If your feet start to come up, you're not controlling your core. Pull up the pelvic floor, breathing out as you go back, in as you come up. So if you're feeling in control there and your feet are firmly staying on the ground, you can extend an arm up to make it harder. You can extend two, but I would suggest only one. Again, this is optional. Most of you are going to find it's going to be sufficient to just come back part way. And lift. Coming back up, hands on the knees, just coming back to that little rock of the pelvis. Now, if you know that you're sitting back slightly here, adjust it if you know you have that problem. Now, from that position, I want you to see if you can straighten your legs down. Okay. If your knees won't quite touch the floor, you probably would be better off sticking something under your buttocks. So sit on a chair. I want you to straighten those legs if you can and feel the stretch in your hamstrings, so the back of the thighs. Just pushing the knees into the mat. Now, Anyone who's sitting up quite nicely upright here might want to lean a little bit forward, but if you do, make sure you're coming from the waist. We're keeping that spine beautifully stacked, keeping that head on top of the back so that your spine is protected, and easing forward, but still lifting and bending the knees. I'm going to turn a little bit sideways so you can see I'm just lifting and pushing. Okay, from there, you're going to be facing me. Let's take the legs wide. Exactly the same thing. Be aware of what's going on. Are you dropping back? If you are, you should be sitting on something. Sitting nice and tall. And I want you to just feel the stretch on those inner thighs. We're not doing any movement today. It's a pure stretch. Now let's take the arms to the side. Roll the shoulders back if you're comfortable doing that. And be aware of your posture. So what's happening with your chin? Now again, the legs, if they're more comfortable in a little bit, that's fine. Legs should be straight. You might need to be sitting on something. Be totally aware of your posture. Is that chin retracted? Are those shoulders relaxed? If it's a little bit too tight, bring the legs in. Even bend them slightly if you have to, if it's pulling on the hips. But try and get that movement. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to come back onto our backs again. You might want to sit and watch for a quick moment. Feet in. We're going to come in one at a time, taking the legs up straight. Now again, that straightness is only going to happen if your weight is above, the weight is above your body. If you find to have your legs straight, you're there. I'd rather you bent the knees slightly. Keeping the legs in position, we're going to allow one leg to drop towards the floor and lift. What's most important here, join me when you're ready, is keeping the neutral spine. So you've got your pelvis in neutral position. You've got a little bit of gap under the back. And I would suggest those that are comfortable doing it, put your hands under your lower back and feel if there's pressure as you do that. Is your back lifting away from your hands? Is it coming down? Engage your core, breathe out as you go down, in as you come back up, out as you go down. So really become aware of what's going on with that back. We're looking to keep the core, which includes the muscles down either side of your spine as well as your tummy muscles, stable and strong. Stable and strong was the word I was looking for. Lovely. When you've had enough, hug those knees in. Okay, next exercise. If you manage to get your leg up beautifully straight and comfortable, then fine, you can take the leg straight up. Anyone else, what I want you to do, again, take your hands under your lower back if it's comfortable. Relax them on the pelvis or just down by the side. But those that can underneath, we're going to do a leg circle. So I'm going to do it with a knee. My foot's relaxed down. I'm doing a small, slow circle with my knee. And then I'm going to change every 3 or 4. And what we're trying to do here is keep the spine as still as possible. We're just trying to isolate that leg. If you can get your leg up dead straight without that movement, you can do a straight leg. But just go with your body, because if your back is wobbling like Billy-O on your fingers, you're not in control of your core. So it's more important here to get the control of the core than to have the leg straight. Maybe feel what's going on with your pelvis. Are you isolating that leg? We're really challenging the core here. Keep breathing. Core engaged. Including the pelvic floor, changing direction every 3 or 4. Try and relax the toes. And let's take that foot down. Bring the other knee in. So again, you can straighten the leg if that's more comfortable for you. Take the hands under the back if you can. And let's take that to a circle. And the other way. Now be aware of what's going on with your pelvis. Do you need to push the foot that's on the floor into the mat to help engage? Is your pelvic floor engaged? 3 or 4 one way, 3 or 4 the other. So it can be a straight leg, but only if you're controlling it. Don't overdo it. Slow and steady and controlled. Couple more. Bring that knee in. We're going to have a little bit of relax down. Hug the knees in. Round the back off. Give it a bit of a rest. Let's take the feet back down one at a time to the mat. And this time I want the feet and knees together and taking your arms out to the side, out of the way. So it doesn't really matter whether they're palm up or palm down. I tend to like palm down. Lifting the top foot off the floor. You're just going to let that foot drop over to the side. Keeping the shoulders down. Come back up. Breathing in. Breathing out, take it down to the other side. Keeping that shoulder down. Now, if that feels too much, remembering this is a rotation move, so it needs to be controlled. If that feels too much, you can keep both feet on the floor, which will reduce the rotation, but slow and controlled. Shoulders are down, getting some mobility through the lower back. Ideally, the knees stay together, but again, it really does depend on how much mobility you've got in your spine. Okay, coming back in. Let's do a few stretches. So I'm going to get you to bring your right leg into the chest again and taking it up to stretch the hamstring. So we've already done this once. Hands either side, just supporting the leg until you feel the stretch in the back of the thigh. Ideally a straight leg, but if the weight is too much, then bend it slightly until you feel this, but straighten it until you feel the stretch. A little bit of gap under the lower back. Now let's flex and point the toe again. And this time, unless you're cramping, I'd like you to keep that heel flexed to feel the stretch into the calf. And release. If you need to circle it, that's fine. Taking the outside of the ankle onto the other knee, opening out. Let that right knee drop away. Now be aware here as well that you're not letting your pelvis drop. Keeping those buttocks evenly on the floor, weights evenly both sides, opening out. Now you can stay there. You can come up onto your elbows, or you can come all the way up. Whatever is most comfortable for you. We're looking for a stretch in the outside of the buttock here. Now, taking that knee, sliding that foot across until the knees are crossed over one another, rolling back down, and you can hug the back knee. So you've got a choice. You can hug that, you're going to feel a stretch in the side of the leg, or if it's more comfortable, you can take the bottom leg down and just hold that leg in position and just pull on the top ankle or just above the ankle rather than the joint to feel that stretch. Same position, just whatever's most comfortable for your upper body. You want that neck lengthened, upper body relaxed. It is possible to do it with one hand as well. You don't need both hands there. Do whatever works for you to feel that stretch. Okay, and release, taking that leg down. Change legs, bring the other knee in. Straighten up to stretch your hamstring. Hands either side of the leg. So you're holding the leg and putting it in slightly towards you. You've got your neutral spine still though. So you're not pushing your lower back into the mat. Pelvis is level. Bend the knee slightly if you need to and straighten it just enough to feel the stretch in the back of the thigh. And then when you're ready, start to point and flex the foot 2 or 3 times. And then we're going to hold it in that flex position. Try and keep the toes relaxed. and release. Circle the ankle if you need to. Let's take the outside of the ankle onto the other knee. Okay, lovely. Open out, let that knee drop away. Pelvis is level. Feel that stretch. If you want to, come up onto the elbows. Come up onto the hands, whichever is best for you. For most people, it's either going to be on your elbows or all the way down. I want your upper body to be comfortable. It's more about getting the stretch there. It doesn't matter how far up you come. It's whatever works for your body. Opening out. Now, let that knee slide in as close as possible. The other leg should still be in alignment, so you haven't let the bottom leg dip into the center line. And you're going to come up, foot off the ground, and hug the back leg underneath, however it's comfortable for you. Now again, you can put that bottom leg down if you want and just hold that leg once it's in position, whatever feels best for you, feeling that stretch down into the buttock. Lovely. Now not all of you are going to like the next stretch, so I will leave it up to you whether you do it or not. If you don't, pick your favourite of the last stretches, but those that can, soles of the feet together and open out. So if you can't get into this position or it's really uncomfortable, pick one of the others. Or you can take the legs wide, knees slightly bent and open out to the side. Upper body should be relaxed and comfortable. You can even support the legs underneath slightly if you want to take the pressure off slightly in that position. But those that can, soles of the feet together, really opening out through the hips. Beautiful. And then we're going to go into happy baby, which is a yoga pose. Feet up towards the air, to the sky even, and opening out. Again, your options are to pick one of your favourite stretches of the earlier stretches. This is just really opening out through the hip area for those that can. Bring the legs back down to the floor one at a time. And we're going to come up slowly to sitting, however is comfortable for you. Okay. I want you to sit comfortably. Now I'm sitting right back. I'm actually leaning against the wall here, mainly for space so you can see. You can do this next one standing or seated in a chair. We're going to work on the toes. I'm going to stay here seated. I hope you can see me. In fact, yes, I'm going to move my mat out the way. I think you can see me better on the blue matting. Feet. I want you to lift your toes and open them out and spread them down onto the floor. So whether you're standing, sitting in a chair, or sitting on the floor, whichever position you're in, watch your posture, please. Think of where your pelvis is, but spread those toes and then push the ends of the toes into the mat and feel your arches lift and release. Relax, lift the toes, spread them, push the end of the toes into the floor as you put them down and release. We do that once more. So you're really feeling those arches starting to work, starting to strengthen. Once more. Wiggle the toes if you need to in between. Lift them off the ground. Spread them out. Put them down and push the ends of the toes. Trying to keep the toes flat. So we're not scrunching them up. We're trying to push them flat into the mat and let the arches draw up. So arches are drawing up. I know it's very small, you probably can't see very easily, but you should be able to feel that. Okay, next one, piano toes. You've done this one before. I'm going to show you with my fingers. It's a lot easier to see. You're going to try and lift them up one at a time. So big toe. Concentrate on one foot at a time. One toe at a time. And one foot at a time, one toe at a time. Big toe. And it is possible. You might feel that nothing's moving at the moment. It's taken me a while. I can do it. Let's change to the other foot if you haven't already. I can do it on my left foot. The right one isn't behaving quite so well. The little toe doesn't want to work. If you're able to, you can try starting with the little toe. I don't manage this one. very tempting here to crane your neck down to look at what's going on. You can feel with your body what's going on. Do think of your posture, what's happening with your back. Whoa, and lift, and lift. Well done. So from there, just wiggle your toes, release them. We're going to come up to standing. You have a choice. You can do your Pilates roll up. You can. Try and come up without putting the hands and feet on the ground, which I think probably won't happen, but coming up to standing. Think of your posture again. Where are your hands? If you let them slide forward, bring them back to the side. Where's your pelvis? Is it in the right position? What about that rib cage? Think about it. Feet. Have a quick look down at your feet. Is one foot slightly further forward than the other? What about the weight in your feet? Are you standing across to one side? Are your ankles dropped in? Are your knees turned in? I'm going to finish today's work with a little bit of pelvic stability work and balance, coming up onto the toes and back down. So Jude, if you want to, might help to use the chair, because then at least you can push on your bad side, you can push into the chair to help. Now I'm going to ask anyone that can, and I'm going to suggest Jude doesn't, but everybody else bring your feet together to try and do that. What I want you to do is lift up and then push the hands down, keeping that rib cage lifted, and come down. Breathe in, breathe out, push and lift. And down. Push and lift as you breathe out. So really be aware of what's going on with your ankles here. Are your knees pushing forward? So having the feet together makes the stability a lot harder. Oh, I feel my ankles wobbling there. Coming up. Reaching down, so I'm pushing down with those hands, really feeling the tension in the shoulders go and release. Let's just circle the shoulders back and release. Little bit of a swing. Actually, let's take it across. Assuming that's comfortable for you, shake out the legs. Well done, everyone. I hope that was okay for you today.